Hello, and welcome to another week of TV. It's all we've got. I am Lauren, and I'm joined by my dad, George. Say hi to everyone, Dad.
Hello, darling, and hello, everyone. So important to make sure we maintain our schedule each and every week. TV,
Yeah,
it's all we've got, is our favourite podcast.
that's right. And it is probably more true than ever with everybody tucking in to some of their favorite TV shows.
Oh,
And
especially those who are now having to resort to getting to work with a canoe and a paddle, because it hasn't stopped raining in Queensland
mhm,
for weeks. I
mhm.
believe 40 nights and 40 days, we have to build a new ark. Let's hope it doesn't get to that.
I know. Well, seriously, my heart goes out to everyone that's in
Oh,
that area.
it's been awful.
It's just, it's been awful. And, the northern parts of New South Wales now are affected as well. So everyone just please be safe.
Yeah, Queensland has taken a
Please stay
fearful battering.
safe.
Lismore in New
Yeah.
South Wales has taken an incredible amount of rain, but to all the families and all the people who are living in that area, I don't know how you do it, but it's
Mm.
it's not the first time. But I'm reminded of a magnificent poem. It's the poem that was written by Dorothea McKellar, and it's I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of ragged mountain ranges, and on and on and it goes. But it talks about flooding rains, you know,
Yeah.
and here we are. It's
Quite literally.
Australia. So for
Four
the
seasons in
those of
one
you,
day.
so for those of you who are sampling this podcast for the very first time, we wish you well
Yeah.
navigating the
Stay
next
safe.
half an hour or so.
Yeah. Stay safe, everyone.
Correct.
Stay dry if that's possible
Well, I stayed dry
as well.
watching My Brief.
Oh,
How
yeah.
did you go?
Yeah, really well, actually. I had some downtime over the weekend,
Oh, shock
which is
and
rare.
awe.
So I pretty much binged the first 4 or 5 episodes of Yellowjackets,
Wow.
which is the show that you asked me to watch this week. It is streaming on Paramount Plus, and it's a wild ride. Let me tell you.
So you mean I gave you something worthwhile, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I was already hooked when I realized who the cast members were. Um, Already big fans of the leading ladies. Um, just to mention a couple: Christina Ricci, Juliette Lewis, and Melanie Linsky, who you probably don't know by name, but when you see her face, you remember her. Um, Especially if you're ever a fan of Two and a Half Men. So it's about these women who, well, actually, these girls, these
Did you
schoolgirls who
like the
have
fact?
something.
Did you like the fact that there are two casts
Oh yeah,
that you require because
yeah,
they're 25 years apart? So you've got one group of
yeah,
brilliant actors, and you've got
hmm,
another brilliant group of
yeah,
actors, and together they make this one amazing show called Yellowjackets. If you haven't
yeah.
sampled it, it's on Paramount Plus, and it's making a
Mm.
reputation for itself.
Yeah, the story as it goes is a team of female soccer players are going to their nationals, and a plane crashes while they're on it. And this is their tale
Their journey
with
of survival,
flashbacks.
yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, their journey of survival with flashbacks to the present day and back when this happened 25 years ago. So you get little bits and pieces of the story. You get little bits and pieces of each character. And yeah, it's really, really well done. It keeps you guessing a lot of the time.
Mm.
When you think that one thing's going to happen, it ends up it's not quite the case. And I'm just waiting to find out how everyone dies.
Um, it's an interesting thing that you ask. I'm just wondering, can you remember Play Misty for me?
Misty.
Play Misty for me. It was a movie that starred Clint Eastwood, and he was a radio announcer, and
Mm.
he got a stalker, and her name
Oh.
was Misty. So
Mm.
I'm reminded of the character Misty, who
Yeah.
is pretty dark, pretty out
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah.
how resourceful is
Mm.
she? Wow. They
Yeah.
say a little bit of
Yeah.
knowledge, can be dangerous. She
Yeah.
is seriously dangerous.
Yeah. I think that's the fascinating thing about these characters is that they're all a little dangerous in their own way.
They have to be to
And
survive.
yeah, and they use whatever they have in their arsenal to get
Ooh.
whatever they want. So it's a really, really interesting watch. And to see the impact that this event has had on these women, and how their lives have turned out. Yeah, watch it. It's gory and at times like a bit, but it's good. It's really good.
What did you make of that episode where they all have something to eat and someone mixes some magic mushrooms in there and they start behaving in a manner that was like scary, seriously scary?
Yeah, it was weird how it was one thing at one point and then it turned into something completely different. And I mean, the thing is, you can tell who kind of makes it and who doesn't because of who you see like 25 years later.
Yeah.
So it's kind of takes away some of the magic of it, I guess, because you're like, oh no, this person's going to be fine.
Not
you
so
know what
much.
I mean?
Mm. The only other time I had that feeling was the early episodes of Game of Thrones. I thought, they were going to be fine. They were going to a wedding, a red wedding.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Remember that red
Why
wedding
is it called
scene?
a red wedding? No one can forget that red wedding scene.
Oh, blood.
No one can forget
blood
that.
and gore.
But yeah, this isn't as well, I mean, there are definitely some parts of it that are pretty gory.
Well, I'm still thinking about the big teddy bear.
Oh yeah, that was
out there.
That completely threw me. There was something else that happened, and I was like, oh, I was not prepared for that. And
and isn't it interesting?
It was probably that bear moment. It was probably that.
And isn't it interesting how girls can be very, very jealous and do all manner of things.
Yeah. I know
that
this.
you would have thought was beyond them.
Oh no.
Any
woman that has ever grown up knows this, knows that women can be absolutely 110 support system or 110 stab you in the back. Like there is just no middle ground.
Brutal.
It's one or the other.
Brutal.
It is brutal. Yeah. It is brutal. Yeah.
What did you make of the boys? You talk about the women.
It's a jungle out there.
What did you make of the boys, the men?
I quite like the coach. I think that he's trying to, I guess, manage these girls as well as he can. But there's only really a couple of boys with them that we know of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a very strong. Actually, you know what? In all honesty, they don't really portray the men that well in this series. I'm glad you generally
said that. Yeah, they were pretty poorly treated. Not too many of them survive.
But also undamaged. Not too many of them give you a reason to.
Oh, okay, fine.
Do you know, like, her husband?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I can't keep saying any more, but yeah, I don't think the guys are really important.
No,
I know that sounds really strange.
They probably add just a little color and movement, don't they?
Yeah. In this show, especially, it's all about the women.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more of this in cinema and also in TV series, where we're seeing stronger and stronger female characters.
Yeah.
And they're trying to claw back some of the area and some of the territory that for the better part of 50, 60 years, 70 years has gone the other way. So for some, it might seem a trifle overplayed, but the truth of the matter is we need strong figures, we need strong characters, and Yellowjackets, it's recommended.
Yeah. And actually, on the topic of strong women, that's really no different from the show that I asked you to watch this week.
Let me think. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Do you know what's really eerie about watching that show?
What?
It took me back to a time when I was a young boy, growing up in Sydney, and we had uncles and aunties that were living in Rose Bay, just down from King's Cross, and it was not unusual to go, to walk through the cross, and at different times of the day and night, King's Cross is not a problem.
Yeah,
it's just the other times.
Yeah,
and the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel captures some of those dangerous times, some of those early times when women really couldn't behave the way you couldn't have a stand-up comic, for example, in the 60s. Lenny Bruce, you could. Lenny Bruce was a hero, and he's also the biggest foul mouth on the planet. Now, if a woman was to try that, they'd end up in jail. So to see the progress, how far we've come, to see how far back we had to go, and to understand the journey of all those women, and to realize just how tough they really were to survive.
Yeah. To
make an impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
and
Marvelous
there's one
Mrs.
gorgeous
Maisel.
episode where the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and what an actress! How good is she? And there's a reason why she's won a bundle. Yeah, it's a bundle of reasons why she's won so many Emmys and Golden Globes or whatever. She's fantastic. Looks $1 million. Recreates that period. The language is that period. And I love this bit where Tony Shalhoub, who I remember as a detective on TV, he plays her father, and suddenly the phone rings, and Shalhoub's saying to his daughter, Maisel, "It's okay, it's okay," and the daughter goes, "What do you mean it's okay? Why all the noise? We're having a birthday party. Whose birthday is it? Your son's. It's not his birthday. It is. Don't worry. Don't worry. We've got to get a lot of other things sorted before that. It suits us to have a birthday today." And she's furious. And of course, her son picks up the phone because grandpa puts him on. And she's about to say, "Darling, it's not your birthday." And she goes, "Happy birthday, darling." I can't fight it. I can't fight it. So it's very cleverly written. It's beautifully cast. Some great characters, some great character actors. And
Susie Meyerson, who's played by Alex Borstein, is really, really strong in this.
Yep. And there are some fabulous moments again where this club is doing so well. And the problem is the Chinese owners don't want it to do well, because if anything does well, it brings with it attention from authorities. And the last thing they want is anybody thinking anything about this place. So just exchanges like that remind you of how many layers exist in society. And if you scratch the surface, you get access to some interesting sub-layers of our society.
So if anybody
did you love it?
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. Like, I mean,
we should mention it's stand-up comedy too. So very hard for you not to love it.
Well, it is about Midge Maisel, who is a female comic coming up in the 50s.
Correct.
And basically I mean, these probably won't spoil anything. Her husband originally was trying to be a stand-up comic,
Ooh.
and she would accompany him to these nights, and ended up they separate. She goes on her first real stand-up gig or set, whatever you want to call it, and she kills.
Yeah.
And so
She
the
took no
love affair
prisoners.
begins.
She took no
No
prisoners.
prisoners.
No. Oh,
And so
brutal.
it's really, yeah, but it's a journey of her life and the comedy scene in that time. Lenny Bruce, that you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
is an actual character. Like, he was a real life comedian.
Correct.
In real life.
Yeah.
And they've based this character on him. And he is,
Look,
if I could have been born
what's
then.
really fascinating is the intensity of her performance. There's one sequence in a cab, and she's throwing her clothes out of the cab, and her manager's going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I don't want to say too much more because it's absolutely brilliant. Other than to say she strips down to next to nothing, which is still a lot of clothes in the late 50s, early 60s. Today it wouldn't make too much of a fuss, but in those days it was like, oh my God. But the taxi driver's great. The punchline, he turns to her, he says, "At this rate, I won't have to worry about retirement. I'm going to make enough money out of this to live forever." out of this taxi ride to Queens.
But the funny thing is,
great script.
She is smashing a tree branch against his taxi.
Yeah.
And because she's so tiny, it's not doing any damage.
Well, no. What makes it even more, and you've forgotten this, the cars were built differently in the 50s and 60s, right?
That's true.
You could actually drive a car into a tree and you'd leave a mark in the tree, but you wouldn't leave a mark in the car because they were built differently.
Yeah.
Today, they're all designed to disintegrate the minute you lean on them. It's about expending all that energy, which is their way of saying, we screw your car up, but you will survive.
Yeah.
In those days, in the late 50s, early 60s, if your car hit something, it stayed intact, but you went through the windscreen and kept going.
Oh my God.
So that tree, or that limb that she's beating,
that bit of branch,
that big branch that she found, where she found it, I don't know, and she's beating the front fender of the taxi, and the taxi driver goes, "Hey, lady, just stop." Today you'd be going, "Lady, I'm going to sue you for damaging my car," and of course there isn't a scratch on the car, which tells you we don't make cars like they used to, and we also don't make women like we used to. And our stand-up comedians today are a very different breed. So
that is true.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel tells you a lot. Yeah.
So you watched season 4, is that right?
I've watched 2 seasons, and I've glimpsed the trailer of season 4, which is the sort of smart thing a journo would do if he's doing a compile.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So you basically
Matt Doran, take note.
Matt Doran started his career in Adelaide on My News.
Oh.
And if the truth be told,
if
you can find his first stand-up to me, there's a story in that too.
Oh.
Yeah. He's a good boy. But there are a couple of things he needs to work on. And
clearly
it is. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel scores a huge 10. It's just wonderful television. And if you like really good scripts, if you like very tight production and really good actors, working a character 10-10. You're not getting an 8 out of 10 perform. They're 10-10, all of them. The manager, is it her sister or her sister-in-law?
Susie's sister-in-law.
Yeah. She's wild. And
I know.
She's actually
insane.
kind of in a crazy way. but she's also kind of attractive.
Yeah, I can see that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Susie's undoing her buttons. What are you doing? What? Oh,
yeah.
She's going, doesn't matter. I've seen you with your tits hanging out before. But. So it's all of this wonderful byplay. Great stuff. And I'm going to watch it. I'm now going to watch the entire four seasons of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I've been well and truly indoctrinated, and I can tell you quite forcefully, I'm besotted by her character.
Yeah. So something
Do I
that
get
I
brownie
will
points?
say.
Do I get?
Oh, well, of course.
Drum roll.
Yeah. I mean, yes, amazing. Congratulations. I'm so pleased. This is what I wanted.
Okay.
This is what I wanted. So for people that are big fans of Gilmore Girls, I never saw Gilmore Girls when I was growing up, but I believe that this is created by the same people that did Gilmore Girls. So if you like that kind of fast talking scene,
this is like it's like Aaron
family
Sorkin.
drama.
It's like Aaron Sorkin's West Wing, except this is for stand-up comedy of the 50s and early 60s. It's brilliantly written. It's won a swag of awards. I mean, what hasn't it won? I want to see where the lead actress goes next.
Yeah.
She's just brilliant. She's brilliant.
Well, she was in Mad Men as well.
Isn't that interesting? I don't remember her in Mad Men.
Yeah, I never watched Mad Men, but I've heard that
another fabulous series. Fabulous series.
Yeah.
Again, because it captures faithfully
the time.
It captures the essence of that time. It tells you how brutally misogynistic the men of the day were, how they treated their women, quite often very poorly. It tells you how women had to behave in a certain fashion, had to fit into certain cliques. It really was a pretty ordinary time. And yet I reflect on so many of the mums and grandmums who, if you look at them today and marvel at just how terrific that they are and how bravely they fought despite all the shit that was going on around them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I do know it.
Yep.
I do know it.
So what's next?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What's next?
So I don't know if you would consider this another strong woman, a strong female-led show.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you to watch Inventing Anna, which is a new show on Netflix.
This is the young woman who came from Germany, pretended to be this heiress who was going to win 70 million euros, but basically was an absolute fraud.
Yeah.
And then went to jail, and while she was in jail or about to go to jail, her story was picked up by Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
So discovering,
you're going to watch Inventing Anna.
Oh, sorry, Inventing Anna. Right. On Netflix.
Anna.
Okay.
On Netflix.
Right. For you,
mm-hmm.
on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Picard.
Oh. Okay. Yep.
Okay. It's the story of Star Trek Beyond, and season 2 is about to drop, if it hasn't already.
Okay.
So get onto it.
Picard.
Picard. Picard.
Picard. All right.
All right.
Well, that's us.
That's us. That's
We're
another
done.
podcast in the can.
Yes.
It's called TV. It's all we've got.
Thanks so
At
much,
all your
Dad.
favorite podcast venues, Spotify, Amazon, SoundCloud,
Apple.
Anywhere else you don't drop it?
I mean, it's on everywhere.
Okay.
It really
it's on
is
everywhere.
On everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's even on Facebook
Just get
too.
it.
Get it. Bye. Till next week.
Bye.